What's up, everyone? Welcome to the latest and most scuffed episode of Power Spike. It's your boy Degon here, alongside Jamata and new coach of Cloud9, Mr. Cannon, YamatoCannon. Welcome, gentlemen. We've had ourselves a hell of a week and change since the last time that we talked. You know, we were waiting for the news to drop. Yamato comes out as the new coach, joining El Domenico over on Cloud9. I went down to Daejeon and for the first time ever got to host an international event in the LoL Esports ecosystem. And now I'm currently in a jail cell at another event that I host internationally. Just kidding. It's a pretty cool room. It's just a lot of orange. If I put the light on me, it does fix the color a little bit, and if I don't have the light on me, I just turn completely orange red. So we're just gonna settle for it here. Yamato, talk us through the Cloud9 stuff. I know most people can find it on your YouTube channel, on Twitter, on Summoning Insight, but you can kind of give us a shortened version for the homies here in Power Spike.
Yeah, sure. Joining C9. So basically, I'm at a point in my life where, like, I have made promises to my fiance. This is going to be the last project. This is going to be the last project. This one is definitely going to be the last project. And the first time I promised was the KC project. So that was a long time ago. So it's like, you know, at some point you realize, oh, you got to keep some promises, you know, and recognize, you know, what the cost is of competing. Because obviously when C9, like Dom wrote to me, Nero wanted to take leave, of course, which is a massive hit, you know, especially in the middle of a year, right? And they needed to adapt fast because it was quite sudden. And obviously Dom and I, we have a relationship for a long time, and we talked about, you know, the team and the game, and we've known each other for a long time. And coming from my position with a lot of head coach experience, Dom moving into the head coach position, he just instantly thought it was, you know, a natural fit. And us working together, something we talked about. You know, people said that we worked together in the Ruddy Sack, but that was kind of fake. You know, like I was coaching the team, he was co-streaming, and it wasn't really the same, and also not at this level, of course. So my position, you know, why I mentioned, you know, the whole promise thing and so forth, is that I'm working remote. I'm going to continue doing the streams, continue doing the podcast with you guys, of course. Otherwise, I'd loop you in ages ago. You know, kind of crazy to see. I was like, what the hell?
Found out when everyone else did. I was like, oh my God, did we just lose your mouth?
No, I wouldn't do that to you guys. No worries. So everything continues the same. I will work in the advisory / assistant coach position. I'm figuring out how to be the most useful for the team. I'm watching the scrims when I can, when it doesn't conflict with other things. I'm giving you know, everyone feedback, and I'm chiming in, and I'm getting to know everybody. You know, the nice thing about this is that Jack and Dom really set up a scenario where I can get the best of all worlds at the same time and still be involved, because obviously it pained me to be able to say no to the proposition of flying out to LA and just competing. Sure. And, you know, fighting for a chance to lift a trophy with one of my closest brothers. But this was something that I needed to do. And then they came back to me and said, you know what, just join us, contribute as much as you can, as much as you want, and we can adjust, you know, however your position is going to look like depending on that. And I was like, damn, like deep appreciation for this. And obviously that motivates me to, you know, give my all even more, because I think that's just a natural thing to do. So yeah, I'm super excited. You know, I'm getting to know the boys slowly. I'm watching scrims. Scrims have been fun. The cross regional tournament kind of went to shit, but obviously 7-man roster, a lot to figure out, a lot of things to figure out too. Adding Arrow as well, also amazing. So I'm just excited. Team Liquid looking damn dangerous though, bro. Like, can you calm down, Team Liquid? Like, but that's a competition right there. FlyQuest also took some games of a Korean team, so it's like this summer split is shaping up to be the most competitive one in a long time, I feel like. So right on cue, you know. Throw me in when it gets toughest. Let's do it.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty awesome that you've been fitting right on. There's actually a lot of things that are pretty awesome that you fit right on in, and they made it work. That you're taking this on, and are min-maxing. You are legit min-maxing a lot of your time right now. And now, speaking of min-maxing, you're min-maxing the positions. You had the what was the name? Cross-regional tournament with some of the LCK squads. Loki joining the team, Arrow coming on in, down in the bot lane, Tactical for the first time in a long time in his career, moving up to a better team, in my opinion. Who I just find it so fascinating, all these moves being done in such a short amount of time. What is something that has surprised your expectation coming into this project, given all of these changes happening in Cloud9?
I think the aggression, right, coming into a summer split. I think the recognition that things are flawed and things need to be addressed. And I think in terms of looking to positions where there's opportunities to make improvements to the whole roster. Obviously, you got a deal with I joined the team and everything was said and done, so I didn't have a say or input on this at all, of course. And I like the additions. I think the main thing as well, I like the additions because I do think that Sven and APA are people that respond very well to challenges, and I think that they are very reasonable and mature people and very, very hard workers too. I think that's something that anyone's going to tell you. And I think that here, I think that just adding additional chances for people to thrive and for the team to thrive, I think that's what Jack and Dom have done with this team, of course, now with the additions and especially like getting Arrow from Fly. I think that's like a huge undertaking too. Just throwing him in there as well. Like that's a legendary player and also a coach that is very experienced now. I think that they've done a lot of good moves to, of course, increase the potential ceiling of the team, which I think is the most important thing. And I think how that will look and the impact of the changes, the final product, we will have to wait and see how that's going to look like. But I think that this will serve to improve every single one for sure.
Yeah. Arrow had him on the LCK broadcast for one of the days. He sat in the back with us and analyzed the game. And just hearing the way that he talked with such authority on like, this is how it goes. And now I have to work with the player to get us across the line together was very, very cool. And so going to be fun to see how you all make it work in the summer split. Right now is a unique time in our run as a podcast because we have ourselves our collaboration with our friends over at Into the AM, where you can use the link intotheam.com/LFN-T3 to purchase our brand new collaboration t-shirt and shop their 4th of July sale that's happening right now. All items are up to 60% off site-wide. You've heard us talk about Into the AM, one of my bombers that I'm using here over at EWC in Paris. Again, on the road has been great. I got my favorite shorts here as well for workout, nighttime stuff. intotheam.com/LFN-T3 to get our exclusive collaboration with Into the AM.com with Into the AM. So make sure to go check that one out, as well as their 4th of July sale, up to 60% off, thanks to our friends over at Into the AM. You won't want to miss that one. Okay. One thing that is also going on, other than the cross-region tournament, MSI happened. And had my opportunity to go host MSI. It was pretty awesome to welcome the world over to Daejeon, welcome the world to Korea, see all of the buddies, all the old friends, especially the staff. There was a lot of audio folk, camera folk, production folk that just, it felt really cool to see after starting this journey 9 years ago, basically 9 years ago. And it felt really nice, fit right on in. And I'm just really thankful for the talent team that everyone really tried to make it easy. Azale, such a pro. Raz is crazy and did a great job on the desk. Ox, Yamata. did a fantastic job. And then Kobe got to celebrate his birthday on there. Made it onto the LOL Esports Instagram by wishing him happy birthday. Did a little segment there. It was a lot of fun to have the opportunity to do that. So for everyone that's followed across the podcast for however long, and even before that, when I was originally there, thank you for all your support, and hopefully made you proud in those 2 days that I had, and maybe there's more days in the future. I don't know anything yet, but would love to do it again, which leads us to our play-ins segment of the week. It is a high key, low key, no key. On those play-ins, because they were 3-0s, but not all 3-0s were equal, we're going to rank them. Let's get into it. This week's high key, low key, no key. All right. Was it boring? People were like, this is exciting. I was like, it was, but also we just ended with the way that we thought, except the KC Team Liquid game. I think that was a unique one. So let's go with our high key, low key, no keys. Yamata, we'll start with you. Where you can place it about anything for play-ins. It could be matches, it could be players, it could be, I don't know, the graphics package. Up to you.
All right, well, I'll take the low-hanging fruit, as I usually do, easiest path all the time. I'm taking high key on Team Liquid, man. That was an incredible last run. Like, it's weird, right? Because obviously they ended up getting 3-0 twice to T1. But I think the overall progression that they showed in such a short amount of time was something that was not only really impressive, but I think even if you're not particularly analytically inclined, it was very visibly tangible in terms of the first series against T1 and the second series against T1. And, it's what they got to 3-0 DCG, right? Shout out Deep Cross. You made it, you showed up, you went home. The KC series, I think, was really the big, gap provider of, okay, sure, I think there's a lot of issues with KC. Clearly, Yike and Busio right now, mid-game especially, on the map, they're not clicking together. Like, I've been doing breakdown videos of MSI so far, and I forget what game exactly it was from KC, whether it was against T1 or if it was against TL, but from 18 minutes to 22 minutes in the game, Yike and Busio were never on the same side of the map. That's insanity, bro. That is crazy. And that is not an issue that Jose Diodo and CoreJJ have at all. And they expressed that very, very clearly on the Rift every single game. And against T1, honestly, I just feel a little bit bad for them because I think T1 came in on a pretty low bar that day for the qualification, man. I don't think T1 came in over the top hot. Which is why I think it sucks that the end result ended up being 3-0, because I think people will look back at that the final series especially, and if they didn't watch it, they'll just go, oh, T1 played Team Liquid? Of course they 3-0'd them. Duh, it's T1 versus Team Liquid. But that game 2 especially, where they've got a 4K gold lead, that was a heartbreaking loss, because it was very, very small windows that they gave T1 and they still managed to creep in. So yeah, for me, my high key is just TL. I think their macro improved significantly. The overall, I think one thing that I've been taking in a lot, I think, is intent from teams. What they intend to do when they're moving on the map. And I think TL, out of the play-ins, I think they looked more threatening than T1 more consistently, which is a weird thing to say, but that was how those games played out. But at the end of the day, T1 just clicked better in the team fights. And those are the more important moments in these games, unfortunately, for TL. So I'm taking high key on TL. I think that was a very, very valuable showing for them, and I think they're going to return back to NA in pretty good form.
Yeah, let's do this differently. Normally, we have you go through all of them. We'll go back and forth. Yamato, what was your high key?
My high key, well, I'm taking a different spin on this, okay? I'm hijacking the segment a little bit and doing it. I high key hate this format in the sense that, well, sorry, I high key hate the seeding, right?
Okay.
High key, the seeding needs to just change, because we need to be honest with ourselves in terms of, T1 going through play-ins. what was the point? We're sitting here in a world where I wish we could see Team Liquid versus Lion at this tournament. I wish we could see Team Liquid versus G2. I wish we could see Team Liquid versus Furia. And maybe Team Liquid even against Top Esports. Maybe that could be a lot of fun. We never get to see it. So, regardless of how well Team Liquid did, they got defeated by a team that is just better than them, plain and simple. And this tournament now to be designed in a way where if you simply just extract the placement of Korea Seed 2 over the span of the last, 20 internationals, you're clearly going to see a pattern there. And I do think that we have to begin to recognize this has been a flaw, a blind spot for LoL Esports for the longest time, where the seed is just the seeds are just not done appropriately. Because we had T1 going through play-ins, which of course is tough, but then the outcome of that is that we have 2 4 seeds in T1 and Top Esports just having just very, very, they should have, like, on paper, like the fact that we have BOG T1 tomorrow as the first round is crazy. Very entertaining, but it's crazy. These are 2 potential tournament favorites. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What is the benefit of doing well in first stand? And then we had a world where people were speculating. It's like, oh, should G2 lose against Top Esports? They would make it further into the tournament because they will play BOG and T1 later because of that. Because there's a world now where G2 play HLE and they lose, and then they have to play against BOG T1 right away, earlier than Top Esports, which is cooked, which is very cooked. So I do think, high key, the seeding, 2 changes, very simple changes you can do. Number 1 seeds, let them choose, or just seed 1 and 2, Korea LPL, just let them be in the tournament from day 1. 2 spots is based on how well the other regions did internationally in the previous competition, and then 2 spots out of play-ins. I would have loved to see a brawl. I would have loved to know who is the best team out of the lower teams. Because at the end of the day, I think that Riot has created a system now where the legitimacy of getting 4th doesn't matter. Getting 5th doesn't matter. But in reality, that should be in terms of setting your expectations. For some teams, getting 5th is a massive achievement. But right now, getting 5th doesn't represent actually being the 5th best due to poor seeding. And I do think, high key, that needs to change.
I like that. I mean, I can't believe, me, I'm a little right defendery. To fit it all in the best of 5 kind of format. Like, I love the fact that I was telling my Valorant co-casters today, it's all best of 5. They're like, it's best of 5 double elimination all the way through. I was like, yeah, it's kind of cool. And they're like, how did that sounds awesome. And it is. But I think it does make it kind of logistically different if you have 6 in, 2 spots open, that means you have 5 teams. Is that what it is? Yeah, 5 teams fighting for those 2 spots. So figuring that part out. And then also, I wish that first stand would have mattered more that way. And so hopefully these changes can be made in the future. I think the fans made it very clear that, like, best of 5 isn't the issue. It's just the seeding. And if there's somehow you can either add a day to the production or make it work another 2 best of 5 day, then that's the play to move forward. Because, I mean, good luck to Furia. It's going to be a great experience for them. But also, yes, I would have rather seen Team Liquid against Furia or something of that nature. KC against Furia would have been nice. My high key goes back to the Team Liquid train. It's CoreJJ. Like, he wheeled back the times and looked fantastic. He had a couple of engages. I didn't even see where he came from until the replay. But as much heat as Yun is getting for, kind of going into melee range, not playing his best, CoreJJ was setting his AD carry up in a way that looked world class, and it was great to see from one of the oldest players in the league still have it. I think it was like there was a 4-man Alistair engage by the River Bush and Banana Brush that was just awesome. It was so awesome to see. So CoreJJ still leading the team and not really letting that IGL prevent him from making those plays. It was a great thing to behold. Let's move to our low keys here. And Yamato, we'll start with you again. What is your low key kind of thing about play-ins that you saw?
I think it's returning. It's a bit boring. I'm sorry. It's returning back to the format discussion, and it's more or less just I'm giving it low key because I think people don't really talk about it from this frame enough. We need to stop treating all of the seed ones the same, and then that I think that is actually the core of where a lot of this then subsequent like issue shows up, where like. It's funny because I can't remember the exact argument, but I remember Dom from last year was talking about one of the seedings for when NA was going to get split, or LTA was going to get split back into obviously the LCS and CBLOL. And he was like, well, no, actually, when this happens, Brazil are going to get more representation because they're going to end up with a first seed. And now all of a sudden, they're always going to be in main stage of Worlds. They're always going to be main stage or Swiss stage of Worlds. They're always going to be main stage of playing of MSI. And I went, oh, hold on a minute, he's right. Like this isn't. Wait, no, this actually does potentially suck. And I think now we've kind of seen it part play out, and I think we're especially going to see it play out. Like I think there's a good chance that Fury actually BTFO Lion, like just as a like almost expressly through Tatu. I don't know how that series is going to go. I would expect Lion to win, but I think it's probably going to end up being closer than people. But after that, does anyone reasonably think that they're going to deal any damage to any other team in the main stage? Besides, like, well, they're not on the same. Are they on the same bracket as? Would they land on the same bracket as Team Secret Worlds? I guess if they won the first series, they would, right? But like. Team Secret Worlds aren't going to be top esports unless we see the most tragic joke of all time. So
no.
The I think the real issue with the format, and then obviously it kind of lends to play-ins, is that because of this like issue of Brazil is treated as this first seed and then equal to every other first seed on the planet, you end up with this. You can follow tournament trends and placements, but I would actually just rather see a more extended version of play-ins personally. But obviously the way that they schedule things and the way that now we have obviously EWC in the middle of the year at the same time, they don't have the bandwidth to do it. Like this entire MSI is happening in the span of 2 weeks.
Yep.
Like two years ago, MSI took 3.5 weeks.
They're cutting it down.
It is a insane crunch. And obviously, Digon, you worked to double best of 5 days. I've had how I don't know how to say it, but I've worked a double best of 5 day. It's not pleasant.
We lucked out. They were 3-0.
Yeah, and they were they were 3-0, and the days still feel really long, right? So
yeah.
And obviously from a viewing experience, there's how that looks, there's how that maybe impacts viewership. Anyway,
I mean, to Yamato, it only felt long because Team Secret Wales was the second. Like I'm just gonna be honest, like
yeah. So
kind of giving away my Noki here, but whatever.
Yeah. So I think really what I'd like to see
DCG, not Wales, DCG
is even if it ends up, yeah, that's funny. Even if it ends up with like some of the Eastern teams beating on, the rest, I think you do one of two things. I think you put. Now, granted, this could be really fucked up. You just do the kind of logical thing and you put the LPL and the LCK auto-seeded into the bracket, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone else has to play through a mini like tournament to fill out the rest of the 4 slots in the double Elim bracket. Or you give it to the traditional like major region first seeds and they're called in. And now this is where obviously you end up with part of the same issue is you chuck everyone else in like a play-in format style tournament to fight out for the final 4 seeds. And now obviously that like effectively will probably end up doubling the length of MSI, but like fuck it. You know, like you get more teams playing against more teams. You probably end up with more matchups. And hey, like who knows? Maybe you end up with a really shaky seed 2 from Korea or LPL every now and again. Like it's not impossible. We've seen it this year, like twice already. You know, so I think it's important to remember that the Eastern teams aren't infallible, but obviously when you end up in a situation where like, okay, this year MSI, our second seed, is T1 and they'll be playing in play-ins versus Czech's Notes, a very dysfunctional KC, a TL who started the tourney cold, and Team Secret, not Team Secret Worlds, DCG who didn't even get to play T1. They just lost.
They just lost.
Yeah, it just feels like filler. It feels like filler before the entree. It's not like a good appetizer. So yeah, I think actually doing something with play-ins that's more interesting is the key, even before you talk about the seeding.
Yeah. So seeding again for Yamata as his low key. Yamato, what is your low key from MSI?
I mentioned it a little bit. Of course, in my high key, I sprinkled it in, but I low key, I said this ahead of the tournament too, but I think that Team Liquid is just better suited as a North American representative to fight for potential upsets. And I think that they proved enough that I think that this is a team that could do some damage. My low key would then be that I low key see a world where if Team Liquid got a chance to play against Lion, Furia, maybe even top esports, maybe they could do something. Because I do think that Team Liquid's run was obviously they fell short. They played against the T1 that was simply demonic, right, in terms of mechanical play. But I think that in terms of their prep work, in terms of their connection to their identity, which was extremely strong in comparison to Casey in particular, that had no sense of identity. They didn't know who TL was. They didn't know who Casey was, all at the same time. And I think also international competition is a lot about, rising to the occasion. Because most of the time, every team is going to have a couple of players that underperform. That's a part of the equation. It's like everyone comes into the tournament with 5 players, and you're dealing with whatever they deal with. So it's like the chance of someone underperforming because of a patch, because of timing, because of just being in worse form, that's a part of the equation. Like we should come to expect that at least 1 or 2 players is going to perform worse than they usually do coming into the tournament. If everyone performs at the same time, it's like a miracle. I think even T1's, strong runs at the World Championships. It's like they're usually there's like 3 or 4 players that are playing catch up to like one dude that is just like surfing through the play-ins. Like last year at Worlds, it was like Faker and Gumayushi were just dragging like a carrier that was flashing into walls and a Mundo that just played for the first time. Gumayushi and Faker had to do a lot of legwork. And then eventually everything fell into place, right? It's like international was a lot about staying alive and rising to the occasion. And I think that CoreJJ and Quid really showcased their strength when it comes to, clutching up when it matters. Like CoreJJ, speaking of identity, they made sure that he played the gate supports almost every damn game. And some of the shit he did on Alistar, on Rel, that was some vintage shit, And it was really, really nice to see because we didn't see that version of CoreJJ, of course, throughout the year, and especially Quid too. So I think Team Liquid was a very interesting team, and I low-key, would have loved to just see the matchup, and I could see them, beating teams that I would rate above them coming into the tournament.
Yeah. I like that one. That's definitely a good one there. Again, we're kind of hitting the same ones all in different order. I think for me, my low key, actually, I'll pull out for a Karmine Corp shout out. I think it was Yehu. I think Yehu, although in the TL matches didn't have the greatest series, but in the other series, especially the one against T1, did very well against Faker. I was very surprised because remember going into the playoffs of LEC, we were like, Yehu's getting a fucking free ride, and when he's going to get challenged, he's going to get exposed. I do think he got outpointed by Quid, but I don't think that he was a problem, right? We talked about the connectivity issues of Busio and Yike figuring out what they wanted to do. I felt like that was a bigger issue. And despite all of that, Yehu was able to perform, and when given the opportunity, did well with it. So props to him. I guess my other low key would be Morgan, another one who did his job solidly for the squad in terms of Team Liquid, but more Yehu for me. I was very surprised that he didn't get blown up and blown out of the water in his performances. Yes, maybe he needs to do more than that for this team, but again, bigger issues with Busio and Yike when they're not playing well. When they're playing well, seems, looks great. He's a genius. He can play, the Camille and look smart, but otherwise, it just feels like the team doesn't get the opportunity to play the game when they're off. No key time for me. And I feel bad because it was their international debut. You want to have the feel good story. You want to have the what was like a team from the World Cup that made it out. The DRC, the Congo, right? Congo making it out, leading.
Congo, yeah, sure.
Cape Verde. There's all these great stories from the World Cup that happens. Just doesn't happen in League, and we've seen it since year 2 when Toys and the boys were able to win over TPA. Since then, there's one team that has the potential to do it. Maybe one team. Last year was CFO. Years before that, maybe it was GAM. But there were a lot of years where GAM didn't do anything either. And it was like, cool, Gigabyte Marines. TK shows up, does the thing, and then they get blasted. And then we don't hear from them again. And we're missing the opportunity for a different match here. Man, Pop9 and Florin and Hongswo, I said his name maybe once the whole broadcast because he didn't do anything. It was just kind of brutal, and I hope they can take these experiences and grow in the LCP, but it just didn't feel that way. That wasn't fun, and I am bummed because if we did have a more emerging region play-in stage, then they would have more closer competition to build some confidence. But as you were saying, Yamato, when you're not firing off on all cylinders, and you don't expect all the players to do so, but when you're going up against Faker, when you're going up against Pays and Carrier, it just is painful. It is just painful, and you didn't even have a chance to do that based off the matchup. So, anyways, that was my no key. That's my format kind of problem, but unfortunately it comes out in the form of Relove Deep Cross Gaming. They also were telling us to say Relove a lot. Yamato, what was your no key of the play-in tournament?
Honestly, KC was just such a massive damn disappointment, man. Like, it's they come into the tournament, and I have I'm just looking at the story of the team in terms of their progress in playoffs. They finally made progress. They looked better against Mad. They looked better against G2. And I always thought there was cope, right? Because people were reflecting the results of G2 onto KC. Like they somehow, branded themselves as, ooh, G2 did so well at first stand. They 3-0'd Gen G, and we took them to 5 games. So we have to have some swagger here, We do some MMA math here, Which obviously was always bullshit, right? But looking at what KC, the level that they brought, I'm just looking at Reaped. Reaped has competed against all of these guys. He's competed against Quid. He's competed against CoreJJ and Eon. He's competed against Spawn. Like, he should know what's coming his way. He should know what comes his way coming into an international as well. And now, it's something that I'm just keeping so close attention to, because you look at some of the other MSI teams, it's like the apparent impact of coaching is so abundantly clear. You think of Home in HLE together with Mowgli. That is a super team that is coached well. Danny on BOG, you see the marks of him very, very clearly. in terms of how they play together with the jungle and support, and the structure that BLG have in comparison to last year. Because last year they had no structure. They had no structure at all, bro. Like this was like, the players came into a scrim room, and then if the jungle like looked at them wrong, they would replace them. It's like, bro, I need a different jungler. Like, open up the jungle closet, like bring in the next guy. Who are we bringing in? Beishwan. He beat us with Thunder Talk. They upset us. Let's bring him in. It's like, should we look at his gameplay? No, he beat us. He must be good. Our ego cannot be hurt. He must be the best jungler ever. Like that was a very, very that came across as a very uncoachable team. G2, we talk about like G2 might just have the best coaching staff in the world in terms of how much they do with their players. Like Labrov is looking like one of the best supports in Western history. Well, Labrov went from choker deluxe with like very, very niche strengths where he would like shine as a big fish in a small pond on BDS, came over to G2, choked in the final, played good in the summer final, and now suddenly, bro, he belongs next to Mickey and Hilly the way he's moving, Like he's having like his prime moment in terms of how well he's playing. And G2 has done that, Team Liquid I already talked about in terms of coaching. And now Reaper's track record over the last 3 years is just rough. Just very rough. Because we know KC have talent. Like, how can we not execute on our own strengths? Fine if you are going to screw your read on Team Liquid. But at least have a good read on yourself. You're going into international scrims, and that experience is just such a punch in the mouth that you can't recover, and you begin to scramble, and you try to reinvent yourself, you try to catch up. Because it's like, when we saw that Game 1 draft, KC versus Team Liquid, we're like, yo, if HLE or BLG play this draft, they're cooking. Because they played the exact same draft in Game 1 today, HLE. Because that's an HLE draft with the Ziggs and the weak side. And in the Game 1 against Team Liquid, I couldn't believe what I'm watching. Ryze is going bot lane to gank the Ziggs lane, level 4, sacking a wave, losing Wukong's chickens. Wukong is giving up camps to gank bot lane. And it's like, what are we doing, bro? We're ganking bot lane with Ziggs on even lane state? We're not even fixing anything? It was like, when players are under pressure, they lean back to what they know. That's why you gotta stick to your guns, you gotta stick to your style. And then, there's the elements of like Kana and in his career, often when it comes to like his final BO5s, when it comes to how he performs in a final best of 5 in a year, like I have memories of a lot of tough ones outside of the winter split finals where they beat a choking G2, right? Where Kana performed really well on the Gnar and like popped off. But I remember his time on D+, how it ended on T1 too. And I also remember how he got smoked by Oscarini, because that's also a question mark, right? Kana here, the way he tumbled into Morgan, like, come on, man. He just tumbled in with Vayne into Morgan, bro. Like, that's crazy. And Morgan was just like, he was just a mountain, bro. Morgan also had like probably like the best games I've seen from him in the last 5 goddamn years, And God bless him. So I'm just going on a rant about how unhappy I am with KC, because I think the talent is clearly there. And we've had back-to-back years now where the concern is now, like, they are lucky the GX are like restructuring their roster. You have fucking Vitality bringing in Fiesta, like they are blessed, by the way, because getting to top 3 from their position is probably still going to be easy. But in a different world, it could have been really damn hard because these flaws that we're seeing is exploitable. And we see the same story of KC play out another time. And it's disappointing. It's hurtful. It's painful. And I can't but help, as a final note, you imagine you're Kalist. You've extended with KC. G2 was interested. You look over there and you see how all the players are thriving, getting better, peaking, and they get to play with these goddamn experienced superstars. That has to hurt your soul, no? That has to hurt your soul. And you can only approach that 2 ways. You either get bitter about it, or it motivates you beyond belief. But that's a challenge that you need to face, Kalist and Diable have such parallels in their stories, right? And now it's the valley. Will you reach peak again?
You're cooking, man. That was fucking fire there at the end. I didn't really think about that. The valley for both Diable and Kalist after these career moves. And also, just to make sure that door was shut, the Hansama re-signing video announcement came out before MSI, before this big victory that we're about to wax poetic about in just a bit. But yeah, Kalist and the rest of KC, they've got themselves one more split to go. And remember, they are the 2 seed. They earned it. They beat MCOY. We'll have the opportunity for more international play here at EWC in a couple weeks. But when you rifle off all the different successful players that have come up through the EU coaching systems, KC has some work to do. Yamata, close this out here with your no-key.
My no-key is KC as well, but I want to take you a different angle slightly. Because everything that Yamato said was very valid. Coaching staff, Reaper, the prep, the drafts, even the in-game plans I thought were just lacking. But who do you guys think is the in-game leader for KC? That's not rhetorical. I actually want to know who you guys think is the in-game leader for KC.
I think it's the
one.
I don't think they have one either. I don't think they have one either. And that is actually my big concern, because obviously the solo laners are Korean. Yike, as we know, this is going to sound like Flame, but he's got a very submissive personality. He's very laid back. He's very, I think we all agree. I think we all agree.
Agreeable. What a submissive, bro.
Oh, agreeable. Okay, agreeable is a better way to put that. But you know what I'm saying. You know
he belongs in this room in here with me. Hang on, time to turn the light off. All right, hold up. There we go.
But
the red room is on.
Agreeable is a much better framing.
Yeah, bro. You're from the UK, bro. Where's the Oxford dictionary, bro?
Yeah, because I don't want to sit here and think on the words if they don't come to me straight away. And so Busio, I think about the teams that Busio has been on. He was on the 100 Thieves roster with Double Lift and Bjergsen and all of those very experienced players. And then he's on the FlyQuest roster. Do you think this guy has ever had to open his mouth in a team setting ever? Other than, I'm going in here? No, he's not. And then obviously that then leaves only Kalist. And I think that's one thing that I really started to think about. Like I mentioned that sequence where they spent 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, not on the same side of the map as each other, Busio and Yike. And I thought, well, every single time Busio does something stupid, do you know who's near him? Kalist. Kalist is near him almost every single time Busio does some stupid shit. Look at the games. Actually, look at the games. And so I'm kind of wondering now if the circumstance that's happening inside of KC when they're on the rift is Yike will, like, because Yike is the jungler, Yike will still make some calls here and there. But again, it's not the same as being a dedicated in-game leader. You're not like it seems as we was talking about, you're not inspired. You're not telling people, come here, do this, da. That's not happening inside of the setup. And I don't think Busio is there yet. I think he can be molded into a leader. I actually think Busio has very, very strong leader traits in terms of his personality. I think he could do it. But I don't think they have that right now. And I think that was very apparent inside of the games. And you know what, Yamato, you said like, if I'm Kalist, how do I feel? I've extended this, that, the other, all the other teams look good around me. Bro, that game 3, I think it was against T-Law specifically, when I was writing up notes for that series, the notes weren't, KC aren't doing this, KC aren't doing that, their map read is poor. It was, Kalist has not pressed flash for the 5th time in a row on a skill shot that is in vision that is coming towards his head.
Yep.
4 5 times in a row. And that, you know what? That is really what upset me about KC in this game. It was their lack of overall coordination, but I don't think they have an in-game leader. And I'm starting to wonder if the person that's taken up the mantle is Kalist. I'm actually wondering if he is the guy that's trying to make calls happen. Because again, Busio's not a stupid player. Yike is not a stupid player. We've seen incredible peaks from these players. But I don't think they've been in a circumstance before where one of them needs to be the big voice. They've been in circumstances where there's other big voices on the team, and now someone needs to be the big voice.
Yeah, man. These are great points as well. I think a lot of his career, Busio has gotten to see great leaders and has been taking a secondary or tertiary role to a lot of that and allowed a lot of his intangibles go towards being a tinkerer, right? The Azir bot lane kind of thing. Obviously pulling out Camille here. He's been able to tinker around with picks and with setups that has allowed him to be a great player. And then he aspires to be, and as you said, has the right guts to be a leader. But now learning how to do that, I think, and taking that type of what does it mean to take that responsibility? I think he knows that he wants to, but he doesn't know how to. And it kind of goes back to Yamato's point with coaching.
I think he'll be able to build on it if this MSI ended up being something where this was a topic of discussion. I think, and now I don't know what the coaching staff at KC think, right, or how they want to mold the team from here. But if there wasn't if that's actually, because I can see it being one of the main issues that they have. If they don't have an in-game leader, I think that is what they need, because what they was directionless throughout a majority of the game. So I think that's where my no key on KC comes from. They just looked fucking lost more than anything.
Yeah. Well,
I'm just happy, I've been planting and planted the seed in winter already about how KC's like macro just like non-existent. The jungle support play non-existent. We saw like glimpses of it. Like we saw glimpses of it against Mad and a little bit against G2 because they started to like play through mid and actually play like an appropriate game, right, with jungle and support. But just so late, so damn late. And I feel so vindicated because I had to fight. I love Busio. Like, I'm not fighting the narrative because of Busio. I love Busio. I think he's a great player. Seems like a great dude. Love the guy. But when there were conversations about how he's the best player in the West, how they're trying to frame him as our Western carrier, and how he's by far the best Western support. Even on the MSI broadcast, I get to hear things like that he's the best roaming support when Labrov has been tearing up. He tore up the entire spring split. He tore up first stand. I hope finally, that conversation becomes very obvious to people about how goddamn good Labrov is now. Like he's been insane for the entire year, honestly.
All right, boom. High key, low key, no key on those play-ins done and dusted. Tell us how you feel about the format, about Team Liquid, about KC. And I gave a little shout over there to Relove Deep Cross Gaming. I saw a tweet about like Team Seeker Whales getting blasted, and everyone's like, "Well, you don't have to crap on the team. It's not just Pun that's doing well. You can give them support." I'm like, 3-0. They got the seed. Team Liquid didn't. KC didn't. I don't know. I just think that if people are playing bad, they're playing bad. Get good. Time to get good. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And while you're there, like and subscribe. Now it's time to remind you about our friends that can help you hit your nutrition goals this season without the planning, the grocery runs, or cooking. Of course, we're talking about Factor. Factor Meals has meals built around your goals, whether that's weight loss, overall nutrition, more protein, or GLP-1 support. For strength and recovery, check out Factor's Muscle Pro collection, because every meal is crafted with functional ingredients, lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats. Factor bans 175 ingredients, no artificial colors, no sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, no refined seed oils, just nutrient-dense food. You can get the fresh, never frozen food delivered to your joint at any time. Over 100 rotating weekly meals, including globally inspired flavors like Mediterranean, Asian, and more, so that there's always something to look forward to. And it's ready in 2 minutes. Factor ships, preps, cooks, and delivers straight to your door, so you have more time for everything else you love as we move ourselves into summer. So make sure to check it on out over at factormeals.com/powerspike50 off and use the code powerspike50 off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th, 2026. That's factormeals.com/powerspike50 off and use code powerspike50 off to get 50% off plus free greens per box with new subscription while supplies last. fast. Yamato, you've had Factor, used it all around the world. It's great for you, right?
Yes, sir. The consistency is key. Like they can't, have one place to deliver fish all over the world. And the fact that Factor is busy all over the world makes the quality check even more difficult. And I can safely say that the quality is damn good everywhere. I've had it in Sweden. I've had it in Germany. I've had it in goddamn Austin, Texas. And I've tried many different meals. I think they do a very good job of sourcing, actual produce that makes sense. They're not gonna get some, if you're in Sweden, you're not gonna get like some crazy ass, tropical, cocoa bean that only exists in the hottest Sahara desert. Like they keep it simple. They keep it clean. When I was in Sweden, I was eating fish. Makes sense, because there's good fish in Sweden, So I think Factor is very, very effective and elegant in the way they've done their sourcing of ingredients, which I think is crucial in food.
Crush your goals fitness-wise, health-wise by heading on over to factormeals.com/powerspike50 off and use code powerspike50 off to get 50% off and free greens per box with new subscription while supplies last. Thanks to our friends over at Factor. All right, let's turn our page to the recent portion. We'll skip past Hanwha Life Esports dunking on Team Secret Wales and move on into... Do you guys hear that? What's going on?
Huh?
That's
it might be my fan.
little cooking there.
I thought Deacon was teleporting, bro. Like his pod was starting to activate.
I know my tin can here was about to rise up into the air. I was like, "What's going on?" Let's move on into our next segment here. It is the surprise, the 6th ever international reverse sweep. It's our certified banger, Top Esports and G2. Now, tell me, be honest, did you lose hope at 2-0? Did you lose hope when the gold lead was there and you lost it and it felt like, what are we doing? Yet again, losing to the LPL. And this is the team that's supposed to be the chokers. This is the team that has the Fell For It Again award, and we're not even going to get a game off them. Anyone feel that way? Was it just me?
To be fair, Digon, Tobiso smoked G2 the last time they faced off against each other. I feel like that's the detail that the community
very
to forget. Top Esports.
I'm not saying I didn't tune out either. I'm just wondering if anyone else joined me in tuning out and then coming back the next game.
No, honestly, bro. I think when the way Top Esports started, they were firing off. The big question marks is do you have 2 rookies out there gonna do? Because keep in mind, Top Esports has been together for 1 month. 3 new players, bro. They went through they went through trauma, Jackie Love and Tian came out of pseudo retirement, to play.
In April, they had a jungler that committed literal ninth circle treachery, bro.
Yeah, bro. That's the League of Legends Judas right there, bro. 369 had to back out. He's like, yo, I just, bro, this is betrayal of the highest order. This team went through shit, and I thought, okay, Feng Yu and Zueyan is these guys are good, but it's too soon. MSI is a demon tournament. It's only experienced players go to MSI. It's the demon tournament. Every time you make a mid lane tier list, it's it's the usual suspects. It's Knight, Caps, Faker, Zeka, blah, blah, blah. It's this is the cream. It's it's always the same names every damn time. And if you come in inexperienced, it's going to be tough. But then Feng Yu and Zueyan, it's they're popping off. The Ambassador game is looking mean and clean. Solo killing Caps on side, 4K gold lead. And then Feng Yu under Nico is just finding angles, RKO out of nowhere, Randy Orton shit. I'm thinking, damn. We are cooked, because our gold Caps, bro, how is he playing as well? He's not in the game at all. It seems like London has fallen because, with what you see there, it's we haven't watched G2 in 4 weeks, So what we see there it was freaking us out. But then that beautiful moment where for some reason Tian was like, seafood, I need it. I just went under the turret. That moment was enough for me. to think the top piece was going to shatter, because what the fuck was that? What was that? That crab sequence is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Because even the coaches cam, all of G2 laughed. The players on G2 also laughed. Everyone's like, what is going on? Imagine like what a stress relief that moment is. You see enemy jungle just like go under the turret and just refuse to give up. It was one of the most mental thing. And I think that in that moment, G2 was like, yo, let's fight back. And then they did. They did.
Well, also, I if you're talking about a moment that involved the turret and led to hilarious reactions, or I guess big reactions, I go back to game 4 when Hansama had that mid lane tower, that 1 HP mid lane tower that stayed alive. And that was, to me, was like, oh shit, this is the moment where they throw, everything's going well, the gold lead's good. And this one, I didn't feel like you could even blame it. That was so unlucky. And now it's not even, oh, this was such a boneheaded mistake and now they're going to lose. This was so unlucky and now they're going to lose because Hansam is not going to be in a position to get going. Juian on the Tristana will get a reset somewhere. But they were able to recoup and counter back. They're like, okay, we lost the Milio, we lost the Lucian here, but we'll keep digging away at the lead. We'll keep playing way better macro than them. Caps just pulling them apart there. And then you're like, oh shit, they can do it. They still got the championship DNA here, Yamata.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, as fun as the series was, this is not to put a damper on it, because it was an incredible series, especially the back half.
You're about to put a damper on it. That's what it sounds like you're about to do.
What I felt bad about was I felt like we never got both of these two teams firing on more cylinders than not inside of a game. And I feel like that could have given us something kind of special today. Now, obviously, the reverse sweep is still special. Let's not. But that just really made me a bit upset because, yeah, the head loss from that crab in game 3 was something like I've never seen before. Because even after that, there's like the play 5 minutes later where they full send it onto Caps between him and Cream, and then Screamon is there to 1-for-1. And it's like, well, guys, Caps had TP anyway. Even if you kill him, you've just used your ult, your flash. Cream has no flash, no ghost. What, you think you're going to hit the dragon afterwards when you've not spent any time getting vision bot? Like, you know what's going to happen after that, guys. It's like they just lost all sense of foresight, top esports. And it was like inside of that 3-0 of the back half of the series, we got the Fell for It award badge. Like actually inside of the scope of that. But I think just the fact that it's juxtaposed against all of the core strengths of top esports, especially I think that game 2 was the more impressive one. Even though game 1 I think was more stumpy, I think game 2 from a gameplay perspective was way more impressive because Tien just made the entire game on his pathing. Like the psychoticness of going blue into enemy chickens into crossing over, and then Screamon happened to do that 3 camp into bot, which I don't know if they knew Tien was had done crab or what had happened, but yeah, just every single play happening off the chickens into snowballing the game effectively through top. It was incredibly intelligent. So the fact that you then slide that next to what happened in game 3 is just it's a level of insanity I don't think you can really make up. But I think just credit to G2 because we know they have the capability of showing up and playing like what we see in the back half of the series. Their macro overall as well, I think, was very impressive. I think even though Top Esports gave them a lot of wiggle room to be generous about it, still executing when you have what's given to you or what you earn and take is still really impressive. Like in that game 4, they do the lane swap and they leave Jackie Love bot. And it's like, oh, cool. Jin is hitting tower, but he's Jin with a Dirk. And we've got 5 people top and we've got 3 grubs. Just really intelligent play from G2. That, yeah, I think by the time game 5 was there, that's when you can talk about, well, okay, well, like, how does Feng Yue and Zuyan, how do they handle the inexperience of being in not just a game 5, but a game 5 where they're about to get reverse swept? Yeah. How cool do they keep their heads, right? And especially, like, we know about TN post-Worlds 2019. We know what the track record is in high-stakes or high-pressure scenarios, and they've not been great. So, yeah, I think just full credit to G2 for coming out and just not giving up after the first 2 games, because I think it would have been very, very easy after the first 2 games to just go out onto the stage and just be like, you know what, let's just lose in peace. Like we've been rolled in the first 2. Let's just, the fact that they went the whole way, didn't crack. And if anything, I think they've cracked Top Esports. Like I think the second that Top Esports now play and a half remotely competent team, they're just gonna get 3-0'd. I can see it. The second they beat Team Secret Wells and they have to face who's in the lower half. I forget who's going to end up in the lower half now, but I think it's either BLG T1 or I'm misremembering the bracket or Lion. Even Lion. I think they're going to do some stupid shit and lose to one. I think they would crack under pressure like that. And that's what G2 did today. So fair play to them. I think the fact that they showed that level of resilience, and then obviously Lebrov, bro. What an incredible statement series to just tell everyone to shut the fuck up now. You can't, no more doubts. No more doubts. I am one of the best. It's incredible stuff. 6th ever international sweep of all time.
Yeah. Again, a huge series. And as you said, dragging the youngins of Top Esports to an area. I think there's just been so many kind of the letdowns with that core group of Top Esports that they've been there before in a way that Juan and Fengwei can't replicate. And well, I just think of BB, Caps, and Hansama. Caps 13, 4, and 10. And even with that, like, I think it was like an 8,000 or 9,000 gold lead at the end of game 5, and they're trying to push in the base, and there's a couple of whoopsies. Everyone stayed cool. No one panicked. They still just continued to work their way around the map. Caps did get caught that one time when he used Reflect a little bit too early, and Top Esports punished right away, and he did get caught, but no one else died. They did a really good job of being like, no, we've built for this. We've thrown these before. We've had our heart breaking before. We're not going to make sure that happens again to close this one out. Yamato, what jumped out at you from this historic series?
I'm just thinking about all the takes that I made moving into this. I did expect G2 to come out ahead due to experience and also just prep. That's like the big one, right? Experience and prep. And I think that in the long run, that was definitely what won out because I do think that looking at some of the individual players, I do think that on paper, Top Esports players have higher individual ceilings, right? But that's not the only the only thing that matters or is measured when it comes to playing an international BO5. I'm happy that Cream played very well. I think that Cream had an amazing series. Even though Caps really clutched it up, I do think that Cream across the series was the stronger player. I think that Cream was really keeping them in the game as well with the young game. And a lot of things was just collapsing around them. I think at this point, Jagilov, no matter how good he's going to be playing in an LPL regular split, because I can easily argue that he was the best ADC in the LPL this split. I can easily argue it for past splits too, but he simply just needs to be lower on the tier ranking, no matter what he does regionally. It's just I have given him too many chances. It's tough to watch that, and then Tian to resort back to some of the older moves, was also tough to watch. But something that stood out to me because I think. I have conviction in my takes, and I care a lot about narratives and discourse. And when I think it's dishonest to the truth, I try to fight against it. There was 2 things that stood out to me. People were mentioning that Hansama had a great series, and I genuinely didn't think that he did. But he played a lot better than Jackie but in the context of everybody else and himself, he didn't have a good series, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that In the Civi game, he made crucial blunders. In the Yunara game, he died in lane in a very stupid way. I think Labrov had an absolutely insane series that made the lane flow a lot easier for Hans. But by his standard, because I'm a defender, I think by his standard, he was the weakest player on G2 today, if I just ranked them. And that's not a bad thing. It's like everyone needs to be a weakest player. Like Viper, someone needs to be the weakest player. The same way Viper is the weakest player on BOG. Doesn't mean he's like suddenly bad or anything. But I didn't think Ansama had that great of a series today. Because even looking at the Sivir game, you guys remember that dive in the bot lane? Like, that was psychotic what he did. Like, he walked through, traded with Ziggs to 1 HP, then flashed in, auto-attacked the minion. And then the next sequence, he should have died. He's just walking through river, through 3 people to join in on a fight instead of just pushing mid. Like there was a lot of big mistakes, I think, from Hans. Even in the Xayah game, he flashed forward without ult. There was a sequence where they were getting chased and he was just trading, died there too. A lot of individual mistakes. It just in this particular series, in my opinion, I didn't think that support was super crucial. And the second thing that I wanted to defend, because people were talking bad on BB in the first 2 games, I feel like people don't even watch the games and they just look at gold deficits and say, wow, BB's getting gapped. The Rumble game, he is getting completely split mapped. And what Skumon said in the interview in particular was, he said, in the first 2 games, we just didn't take the chances that we got. And they could have dove that bot lane 3 specific timers and they didn't do it. They are 4v2 into bot lane and the Varus with no flash is allowed to live because we're hitting the Drake instead of just diving them. We can just put Braum shield up, block the Varus Q so he can't clear the wave, double kill. Excuse me, I just burped like an animal. Sorry. Jesus. Excuse me. The passion's coming out in many different forms.
Yeah.
And in that sequence, always, BB was getting zoned off the tower. Nafiri and Ambessa can easily dive. Rumble got pushed off. And then they do this trade. You guys remember when LeBlanc goes into top lane, they do this trade. LeBlanc goes into top lane with TP, and Rumble goes into mid. And during that sequence, Caps gets dove. He dies, gives Ambessa the first kill, and Ambessa takes the full tower. And suddenly, Ambessa's 20 CS ahead, 2,000 gold ahead, and people are like, haha, BB Rumble. Bro, he was one of the better players in that series, but people just look at the numbers and think, haha, bad player. The same thing in the K'Sante game. The K'Sante game is he, first and foremost, his jungle got completely gapped, because let's be honest, Tian gapped him. He pushed off Zinza off the golems, which means that suddenly the jungle is supposed to be on your side is no longer there, and you're in a wave state where you just got free dove. He got 3-man dove. Then in the lane swap, he got dove again. And then he swaps back into the Renekton and solo kills the Renekton. So he's 1-3 after getting completely screwed over by conditions in the game. And people look at that as, oh, BB is just trolling. BB in these games were really damn good. And I think that people need to look a little bit deeper when they look at the details of a game. Because I think people jump so fast to criticize a player. I think this happens to Doran too, where people are like, oh, Doran is just getting gapped. It's like, no, Doran's getting sold on eBay, for a very low price. And his team is trying to do something. But
he's also getting gapped, though.
In the matchup.
He is also getting gapped, though, at the same time. I think those two things happen at the same time.
I'm just saying in the past.
Sure.
In this tournament, I'm just thinking, for example, there was a series when HLE played against BOG. People like, Bin is just fisting him. It's like, Bin did some fisting, but HLE did a lot of selling. A lot of selling. And I think the nuance there is super important to me, because I do think that attributing, every attribute of the game, attributing the success of the game and the strength of the game and the details of the game, I think that the silent heroes deserve a lot more praise, because BB played really good in game 1 and 2. But people are like, Rumble, lul. It's like, no, he had a pretty good Rumble game. Yeah, a pretty good Rumble game. He just got sold completely and had to lay against an Ambessa that got 2k gold lead, no fault of his own.
I feel like that was one of the moments I was most proud of, I guess, when I was on the desk, when we brought up Doran. I think it was the Gragas game. They had the constant CC onto Kalist, didn't get it, wasn't able to play the game. And those are the moments where Doran shows up. And it felt like it wasn't just a Doran shout. It was the unsung hero shout, like a BB who constantly gets judged by the scoreboard. And I'm guilty of it too sometimes when I don't have all the time to watch exactly the lane state that happens. But then they make those big plays. They are the ones that make the space, and stats like that just are very difficult to quantify in the game. So great shout out there. To close out this segment, though, I kind of like the idea of what you brought up here, Yamato. Let's rank the 5 guys here on this historic 6th ever international reverse sweep. So what would you give them in terms of ranking here, Yamato, individually?
Bro, I'm on 3 hours sleep. I low-key spaced out. Can you tell me that again? I'm very sorry, bro. Like, I have to wake up at 4 a.m. to co-stream these MSIs, and I'm on my last fumes, bro. I'm eating M&Ms to stay awake. Tell me that again, bro. I'm very sorry, bro.
Crazy.
Damn.
Crazy synergy here.
Bro, come
rank,
on.
Rank the in your order. Rank the G2 players in this upset.
Ooh, oh, that's cool. That's easy for me. Number 1, Labrovador. Number 2, Capsimus Prime. He had some shit games, but the good games were his performance was too important in the wins. That it's like Caps is on his faker shit, where he just steps up in a way that
he just wins.
Very few players can. And third for me would be it's like Skewmond Broken Blade is kind of a toss-up. I think it's a tough one because I do think that Skewmond got kind of gapped in game 1 and 2. Definitely. And I think that Broken Blade was just really damn solid today. Like that Anivia performance was amazing. But I think that Skewmond, just jungle is a more important role. And I think that he had a very important role. So I would just put Skewmond 3rd, Broken Blade 4th, and then Hansama 5th. And being 5th is not a bad thing here. Like I like Hansama. Right. He had a solid performance. But I do think that, for example, I saw Peter Dunn saying he quietly had a great series. It's like, no, he didn't. He actually didn't. Jackie Love was ass. He outperformed him. If the only metric is one-dimensional, it's like, Yamato, for each role we have 10 beans. Distribute these beans. It's like, okay, Hansama gets 8 beans over, Jackie Love's 2 beans, or like even 1 bean. He has 9 beans. He has a 9-bean performance. And then it's like, oh, but Caps had a 5-bean performance. Does that mean that Hansama played better than him? No, Caps played against a way tougher opponent in this series. And I think that matters in terms of impact in the series, because in the grand scheme of things, it isn't me against you, it's me against them with these guys behind me. And what do I do with that? And I do think that the instrumental parts of today's performance was Labrov and Caps and everybody else, because I do think that ADC fundamentally was not super important today.
Jamada, distribute your beans, and you can start with La Beans, probably.
Yeah, Labrov is getting 4 beans.
Fangio is getting 6 beans.
No. Only the G2 players are getting beats. So just for clarity, 10 beans in the budget. Yeah,
10 beans in the budget.
10 beans in the budget.
Total 10 beans. I said 10 beans per roll in this beans. But you're doing Heinz beans, so 10 total beans, okay?
Yeah. I don't even.
You were doing English breakfast, okay?
So we'll go 4 beans for Labrov. I think 3 beans. 3 beans for Labrov, because I've got to space it out appropriately. I'll give. Can I split them? I'm gonna give 2
beans.
Yeah, I'm splitting the beans with the butter knife. I'm giving. Don't make me laugh. I'm giving 2.5 beans to Caps. I'm giving 2 beans to Screwmond. No, give me 2 beans to Broken Blade. Sorry, and that leaves me at what? I've got 2.5 beans left. I'm giving 1.5 beans to Screwmond, and I'm giving 1 singular bean to Hansama.
All right, there you go. That was way harder than what it needed to be. Thank you, Jamada. But again, there are your player rankings in a historic win that will be rewatched by Western fans, not just EU fans, Western fans around the world. And I think it does put attention to the LPL yet again. It's just like, gosh, can't anyone beat these chokers? No. They get sent out. You know what's going to happen when you send them to international event. Another heartbreak here for Top Esports, but they're not done. Pick themselves up off the floor, and like what Yamato said earlier, this is a young team that is put together recently after traumatic events and found success. Their ceiling still is up there, and they can pull themselves off the canvas. Damn, I cannot believe I was able to pull that analogy off. There you go. Our certified banger, G2 versus Top Esports. All right, before we look into the future here with our Galaxy Brain Club of the rest of MSI, it's time to remind you about our friends over at Raycon. Now, if you're still trying to figure out what the best gift for your father, despite Father's Day being a little bit earlier in your life is, no worries, we got you covered. Raycon's essential open earbuds have been a total game changer for me personally, and honestly, it feels like it was made for dads as well, whether he's out for a walk, puttering around the yard, or someone who's never really indoors. These are going to get used. The open ear design is what got me hooked. I can have music or podcast going like ours and still hear everything around me, which just makes being outside so much more enjoyable without feeling checked out. It's a rare gift that actually is practical and something he'll reach for every single day. And if this has you wanting a pair for yourself too, honestly, now is a great time because they're 15% off. These earbuds sit just outside your ear canal so you can have really clear sound, but also hear what's happening around you. The awareness is perfect for tackling your fitness goals safely. They're really light. The ear hook part rotates, and so they actually stay in. I've worn them at the gym, on walks, doing stuff around the house so they don't fall out and they don't get uncomfortable. And Raycon has over 3 million customers, and the sound quality is just as good as the way more expensive brands. And if you don't like them, they have a 30-day guarantee. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who works in the audio industry looking at the same type of competitors that Raycon has, and he was like, yeah, Raycons are great. If I wasn't working here, that is what I would use. I promise that was a true ass conversation that I had, and we use the products that we give you guys. So again, Raycon with me here in Paris and anytime I'm on the go. So upgrade your dad's everyday routine and get yourself a little gift while you're at it. Go to buyraycon.com/powerspikeopen to get 15% off. That's buyraycon.com/powerspikeopen to get 15% off your order. Thanks to our friends over at Raycon for sponsoring Power Spike and LFN. All right, let's close it on out here as we do with the Galaxy Brain Club and the rest of MSI as day one, surprising, a pretty fantastic surprise. Let's see what else our analysts think will happen here with the Galaxy Brain Club. All right, let's dive into it, boys, as we take a look at the schedule here with G2 making the big upset and the victory here, surprising the LoL esports world, honestly, especially going down 0-2. Who knows what else can happen here? We've got Lion and Furia going head-to-head, then BLG versus T1, and then the future bracket that we have, Hanwha Life Esports and G2. And then you were saying it earlier, if they face a competent team, Team Secret Wales has established themselves as the successor in the LCP region. Maybe another upset there. Maybe it's heartbreak for Top Esports. What you got for me, Jamada?
Yeah, well, I don't quite think Top Esports are... Look,
right?
They should beat Team Secret Wales. I'm not going to entertain the idea until it doesn't happen. I think obviously what's on everyone's mind is just this BLG T1 series. This, I said it earlier when I was reviewing G2 Top Esports. BLG should beat the shit out of T1 if they play at the level that they showed in play-ins. If they do They should. They should. They should. But the issue that BLG are going to have is anytime they play against T1, there is a level of nameplate difference. There's always some, I don't want to say gimmick as to take away from T1, no. But there is always something that just seems to make these guys lose their head a little bit. Obviously, ever since 2024 Worlds Finals, that's been that probably lives in some of these guys' heads rent free. But I think about last year, they went in, T1 just came off of a 5-game series against CFO, which I still hold to this day. I think they should have lost, and they 3-0 BLG because BLG are just slinging shit at the wall off cooldown, just as hard as they can. Their entire game plan is let's just try and drag them. You know, they had the cage this time, like the Kanavi cage, right? Let's try and drag them in and let's beat them with the club. And T1 just grabbed the club and spun it back around and started beating them instead. And that's what I'm concerned is going to end up happening here, is that T1 are going to have had this nice time in play-ins to like think about the meta. They're going to be a little bit warmer than BLG are on stage, and their level, their floor is going to be higher than what we saw, and then BLG are going to come in looking bad. That's my main concern, because if the drafts randomly start not looking so consistent or like on point, which is obviously a weak point of T1, all of a sudden that's an issue T1 have to worry a little bit less about. If BLG aren't firing through the solo lanes randomly, right? Because at the end of the day, Faker is still Faker. Like, do I think Faker's laning right now in the grand scheme of things is poor by his standards? Absolutely. But he's still Faker. Like, it doesn't matter. He will still find a way to drive the game if the opportunity falls at his feet, right? Or even if it doesn't fall at his feet. That's what makes him the GOAT. But to BLG, the way that they've been playing so heavily through solo lanes, these guys should absolutely demolish Faker and Thorin in the form that they're in. So, I don't know. I think the reality is it's either going to be like, I think it's just going to be one-sided one way or the other. I actually don't think we're going to get a close series out of this series, you know. I think if BLG come in and they have a shit game one, I think that's going to stick with them for a lot of this series. And T1 are just going to run with it. But if BLG come in hot, and I think especially if they win game one and it's moderately convincing, that will be a big confidence booster internally for them to say, okay, this is not the same T1 that has like given us hell every time that we've effectively faced against them for the last 2.5 years. And that can make the series positive for BLG.
Damn. I don't know, man. I because I called it at LCK finals, right? The T1 upset, and it's the T1 magic in front of the T1 crowd. It hasn't been like this since RNG won MSI and silenced them in front of their own crowd. That is kind of going to be a tough one. What do you think here, Yamato?
Just chew my M&Ms.
Go on, get through him.
I think I have to just finish. Wait, hold on.
Yeah. You got it.
You got it, bro.
I took a mouthful. Very chewy. It's a cookie dough. For the first time, it's very chewy. All right. I have nothing to drink. It's a disaster.
for the audio only listeners, Yamato is looking left and right on his desk looking for a drink.
I know. I feel like I'm looking for you, man.
All right. Let's give this a shot. So you want me to T1 BOG, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think, I think in terms of how people view history, I think T1 BOG is the greatest rivalry we have in League of Legends esports, by far. We might have some regional ones that are up there, whether it's KT versus T1, T1 versus Genji. Regionally, I understand. G2 versus Fnatic, Kapachungus.
Kapachungus.
Koi versus KC, whatever. But in terms of international competition, this one is historic, right? Last year, I think it took a break because BOG definitely couldn't figure out their issues, right? They changed 8 coaches, 18 junglers. It was a mess. That was just like the, spin-off series without the main actor, and now Robert Downey Jr. is coming back as Doctor Doom, baby, because Shun is jungling well, you know? And looking at what the historical matchup is, because I think it's important. When it comes to MSI specifically, BOG has beaten them T1 a lot. 2023, this was with Yagao. You guys remember?
Yep.
3-1. LPL dominated that tournament. In 24, we had BOG beating T1 twice. And that was with the Shun. And then, of course, later at the World Championship, it went to 5 games. And I still think to that day, to this day, that was such a damn close tournament that BOG deserves a lot more respect than what they're getting for that. Right?
You could run that best of 5 100 times, it'll be 50-50. I swear to God.
Yeah. Like, that was so damn close. So damn close. And I think that we are in a world now where BOG, obviously, I think T1 has a massive advantage in the fact that they come in warm. I think that they've played on the stage, which is a massive plus as well. It's like you play on the same stage over and over and over again, and having 3 best of 5s under your belt, regardless of what they offered you, is going to be an advantage, I think, especially in T1's case. But I think the main challenge here for T1 is that because of how they played in play-ins, it's hard to judge that that's going to be their best. Because I do think even in LCK, they were matching up to whoever they played against. It's like they went from having a close series against Bro to then, you know, playing up to HLE and Genji with no problem, right?
Yep.
In the regular split. And then they, even in the Genji series, they started off very poorly, and then they kind of ramped up in that series and won, of course, in 5. But I am a strong believer of the BOG How I Life version of the approach to the game in terms of what the ADC's role is. I think that in terms of how you structure the map with jungle and support and how you pressure through mid into sides, I think this is going to be, you know, the hurdle that T1 needs to overcome, because they play in such a contradictory nature to everybody else. And I think that T1 inherently played the wrong way, but they have a very strong conviction in what their style is, right? And I do think something that we've seen is that the mid lane phase and the top lane phase is still crucial and so important. And I do think that Knight and Bin just have an advantage naturally in the lane phase, which is going to be very tough for T1 to just overcome in the first place. And I do think that T1 have key champions in top and mid that they definitely rely on. And I do think that BOG have the pool to challenge them there. And I think that the unique dynamic of T1 being a team that has been together for so damn long, BOG is the only team that can challenge them there on that duration. When it comes to jungle and support, how long Honor and Kerry have played together, Shun and On have just the same amount of experience under their belt. Obviously, it's like there was the break during the JDG, but they started playing together earlier. You know, I think they played in 21 already, if I'm not too crazy. But I might have that wrong because I didn't look this up or whatever. But they played together for a very long time, and I think that matters. Because I do think if there's a jungle and support that can match Honor and Keria, it is Shun and On. Plain and simple.
Not even, you know, Canyon and Duro, right? That core there at Gen G. Like, I think that's a pretty good point there, Yamato.
And I think that's such a crucial detail, that you have a bot lane as well that are lane specialists. And also, if we look at what the support meta is, On is the one who created this. And the creator is, the master, and everyone else was the apprentice. This is a support that if he slams Camille, we are scared. It's not like the other Camilles. You know, there's a lot of Camilles at this tournament. They shouldn't be playing Camille, you know, like they got the devil whispering in the ear, you know. It's like, you know, it's like that scene in the Matrix, like the don't follow the lady in the red dress, you know, that's Camille, you know, standing there with her fucking scissor legs, you know, like it's a goddamn disaster what we've seen for some of these Camilles. And with everything that I've said, I do think that BOG on paper should be better. But the nature of not having seen them for 4 weeks definitely raises some question marks. But I do think that the best of 5 gives you enough time to kind of lean into something. Because T1 had good macro moves in terms of taking towers, but there was a lot of bullshit in the in-between when we saw these best of 5s where they were throwing and throwing and throwing. And they got away with that because they were so much mechanically better. can we honestly say that T1's going to be much mechanically better than BLG? I don't think that's an advantage straight up. They have to win in the clutch and hope that BLG somewhat, feel a little bit timid and intimidated, which is entirely possible. But a rational mind predicts BLG, but there's something that always with T1 makes you wonder, So I'm with BLG. I think that's the rational take, plain and simple. But we'll see.
T1 Magic is a thing that happens all the time. And lately, we haven't seen it falter in some of these big moments. But, the T1 hasn't been, I guess, the organization, Faker, hasn't just been around in these last successful 5 years. There have been periods where it has fallen off. It hasn't worked. So we'll see what happens here as we have a finals caliber matchup in our opening knockout round phase for BLG. It is BLG T1 tomorrow after the Lion versus Furia series. We're going to get this posted right away. So hopefully you can enjoy this during. If you see it afterwards, this was before. We are going to try and knock out another episode before the finals of MSI, and so sometime next week we'll get another one up for you. It has been pretty difficult with the travel schedule with MSI and then flying to Paris and then the Cloud9 news and now co-streaming while I'm doing EWC, and our schedule's been tough. So we appreciate you waiting along, working along for us as we share our expertise here during this exciting part of the LoL Esports calendar, and we'll continue to do so next week. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. Thank you to all the partners. Comment while you're there about what you thought about play-ins and who you think is going to take it all home here in the 2026 MSI. On behalf of everyone here at Power Spike, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next week for more MSI coverage. Bye-bye.